I have a statement to make. Since I'm aware of the great amount of speculation about this appointment, I want to share this very important decision with you as soon as possible. Needless to say, most of the speculation is centered on the question of whether I would consider a woman to fill this first vacancy.
In mid-October 1980, Ronald Reagan was just a few weeks away from Election Day. Although he was ahead of his opponent in the polls, he still lacked support from female voters. In order to gain the support needed, Reagan announced that he would do something no other president has done before, paving the way for generations to come. He would nominate a woman justice for the Supreme Court.
Well, before President Reagan was elected, during his campaign, he made a point to say that he was going to appoint, if he got the opportunity, a woman to the Supreme Court. It didn't necessarily mean that he would get the opportunity to appoint a woman, because you never know when that opportunity is going to arise, because there are only 9 members of the Supreme Court and they are appointed for life.
During my campaign for the presidency, I made a commitment that one of my first appointments to the Supreme Court vacancy would be the most qualified woman that I could possibly find.
I know that there are hundreds, thousands of people who are qualified for a position of a judge. Qualifications matter first. They have to have top-notch education. They have to have great experience. They have to have good written opinions.
Now, this is not to say that I would appoint a woman merely to do so. I will send to the Senate the nomination of Judge Sandra Day O'Connor of Arizona Court of Appeals for confirmation as an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court.
Sandra Day O'Connor graduated 3rd in her class at Stanford with a bachelor's in economics. She was also elected to serve 2 terms in the Arizona State Senate. After finding the ideal woman for the position, Reagan received opposition from the Republican Party. The party was concerned that O'Connor would not hold up to Republican ideals. There were some controversies, one of which being if she supported abortion.
The only significant opposition has come from abortion opponents.
Despite all of the opposition she faced, Sandra Day O'Connor still received unanimous approval from the Senate with a 99-0 vote.
At that time, the saying was, you have to be twice as smart to be a woman in a job like that. And I think that might have been true of Sandra Day O'Connor. She had to really excel and be the best woman candidate for that position, because she would be the first and she'd be under a lot of scrutiny.
In 1988, she was diagnosed with breast cancer and had a mastectomy. She continued to work as a judge until 2006, when she retired to spend more time with her husband, who was battling Alzheimer's. Even in retirement, she continued to impact society and promote education.
So I still remember an event that was held here where Sandra Day O'Connor came and spoke to an audience of about 600 students. And one thing I will never forget is a student in the audience had a question, and they asked her about how she still to this day remembers and knows so much about the law, being that it's been so many years since she hasn't been practicing as a Supreme Court justice. And she kind of paused and she asked somebody to bring her purse. So she said, "Bring me my purse, bring me my purse." And it took a little while, but eventually somebody was able to bring her purse, and she's on stage and she's digging through her purse, and the students are kind of laughing. They can tell this is a bit of a spur of the moment thing. It wasn't scripted at all. And as she's digging through her purse, the next thing she does is she pulls out a copy of the Constitution. And she said, "This is why, and this is something that everybody should carry around with them."
Sandra Day O'Connor broke down barriers and proved that our country can unite and give equal opportunities to men and women, forgetting our past and building our future.
I think her appointment to the Supreme Court was important mainly for this reason. All the young girls in America from that moment forward could look at Sandra Day O'Connor and say, a woman is on the Supreme Court.
Enable the voters to say, oh, it would be all right if we had a woman in that position.
That a woman can be President of the United States.
I could go to college, I could become a lawyer, I could become a judge, and someday I could do that too.